I am holding in my hand the Muslim Brotherhood plan for the destruction of the United States, written 5/22/1991. The title of the plan is مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام للجماعة في أمريكا الشمالية. You all got that? There will be a quiz. It is titled the Muslim Brotherhood, an explanatory memorandum for the general strategic goal for the group, the Muslim Brotherhood in North America, written 5/22/1991. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism trial ever in the history of the United States, where our government handed down, hello my best friend, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts for Muslim Americans and Muslim American organizations raising money to support terrorist organizations in the Middle East to the tune of millions. And I'm just going to read you a paragraph of this plan, so it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. They talk about the settlement in the United States. And I have to put my glasses on because God in His wisdom decided I turned 49 and I needed reading glasses. Wait until I get to heaven. I'm convinced He's a man. If He was a woman, He would know I would look better without glasses. Understanding the role of the Muslim brother in North America. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Is this clear? They don't mince words, do they? But the most important page of this document is the last page. Because in the last page, they list 29 front Islamic organizations set up in the United States with the specific goal of sabotaging America from within and destroying America by our own hands. And I'm just going to name a few. Number 1 on the list is ISNA, Islamic Society of North America. And if you're familiar with ISNA, it's because they are now advisors to President Obama about Middle East policy. So we not only have the fox watching the hen house, we have the fox inside the White House dictating policy in the ear of the president. Number 2 on the list is the MSA, the Muslim Student Association. The Muslim Student Association has more chapters on American college campuses than the Democrats and the Republicans combined. Number 8 on the list is NATE, the North American Islamic Trust. The North American Islamic Trust owns the deed to over 90% of American mosques in the United States. That is a problem. Now, what makes this very important, and I'm going to focus in the last 5 minutes on education, is to show you how they set up every organizations in this plan to destroy America, focusing on every sector of our society. Organizations focused on publishing, organization focused on media, organization focused on education, with the strict purpose of doing sabotage to America from within. And I'm not talking military. We know that ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all the others want to attack the United States and do damage to the United States. As a matter of fact, we in the United States have 150 terrorist organizations right now operating in America. 5 of them are operating right here in the District of Columbia.
Maybe I'm not an American citizen. Some people said, he has a forged birth certificate. Well, first of all, it's true, I'm not American. I was not born in Hawaii. I wasn't born in the United States of America. I come from Kenya. And so I think people saw my election as proof, as testimony that our society has continued to become more and more naive.
On what Mr. Franks was talking about, the case involving the Holy Land Foundation. You mentioned the Dallas Morning News article. I have a copy of it here. I've also got a copy of the Politico article. And the person you're talking about is Jim Jacks, who is the interim U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, because the president has not made a nomination for U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. So as long as Mr. Jacks stays in the good graces of the president, he serves at the will of the president or of the judges in that area, he might even get the nomination if he does a good enough job from the president. He serves at his will. So let's go to this. Are you aware that this same career prosecutor that you'd mentioned filed pleadings in the case before Judge Solis and before the Fifth Circuit, where he supported the decision of Judge Solis that there was evidence to keep the unindicted co-conspirators listed, because some of them were wanting to be eliminated as co-conspirators? He filed documents with the court, and I'm rather sensitive as a former judge and Chief Justice to lawyers filing things and saying things they don't believe, because it seems that what the position Mr. Jacks is taking now, which could be viewed as supportive of the president's position on some of the people and some of the organizations that are unindicted co-conspirators, are inconsistent with his position in his pleadings. And I have copies of those as well. But the judge found, after reviewing Mr. Jacks' pleading, that there was plenty of evidence to keep them in as unindicted co-conspirators. Now, if a lawyer files something that he doesn't believe and he knows he doesn't believe it, some judges think it's a fraud upon the court that requires punitive actions to be taken. So I'm also aware that when someone makes a statement to the Dallas Morning News, even if he believes it's not true, though it may help him in a political appointment, there is no actionable punitive measures that may be taken. So I wonder which Mr. Jacks' opinion we're relying on, the one that's the interim that possibly hopes to be nominated or stay in that position, or the one that filed pleadings before the court. Now, are you aware that one of the unindicted co-conspirators is the Islamic Society of North America, ISNA? Were you aware of that?
I don't have at my fingertips all the unindicted co-conspirators, but there's not an inconsistency in the
wait a minute.
Position that the
my time is so limited. I have to ask questions and get short answers. The FBI has recruited through the ISNA magazine. ISNA has advertised in FBI publication in their publications, and even in the White House's own Deputy Assistant National Security Advisor went out and spoke and met with and spoke out at the Al Dulles Area Muslim Society, or short for that is ADAMS, ironic. But Deputy National Security Advisor Dennis McDonough, even in his opening remarks, thanked the president of ISNA, and that thank you is on the White House website. So I'm wondering, when you say that no, you nor anyone else, as I understood, in your department assisted at all in the decision not to pursue prosecution of the most important funding case for terrorism in American history, do you need time to reflect on that? Or can you absolutely be certain that no one in your department had any consultation with Mr. Jacks or anyone making the decision in this case before the decision was made not to pursue it?
I'm not sure that's the question that I was asked, but beyond that, the notion...
Well, that's the question I'm asking.
Well,
it went beyond Mr. Franks. That's the question I'm asking.
Well, you see, now you asked me one question, you're saying... No, your question is what now? Am I referring...
My question is very specific. Is there anyone in your department who consulted with Mr. Jacks or whoever made the decision before the decision was made not to pursue any of the unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation trial?
My understanding that, in fact, there was contact between Washington national security professionals and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Texas in that regard. But one thing
Are those Washington national security professionals part of your department? Because that was the
part of
question.
the National Security Division. But one thing
Are they under you?
Yeah, the National Security Division is part of the United States Department of Justice.
Did they consult with you in any way?
No.
All right. Thank you. I see my
But
time.
one thing I want to say that I think is grossly unfair. You've cast aspersions on a person who I don't know, who has served, I understand, the United States Department of Justice and the people of this country quite well for a good number of years. And you've implied that he would take a position in a case in order to maintain a position as an acting U.S. attorney or to become the U.S. attorney. These are the kinds of things that, will get reported in the newspapers. People don't know this gentleman. They'll wonder about him. And I think that's a very unfair thing to do, given the fact that I don't think there's any basis for the assertions that you have made.
Wait a minute.
And without-
You're saying there are no basis
The
for the
gentleman is
assertions?
recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
No basis for the assertions that he said one thing in the pleadings before the trial court and the same things before the pleadings in the Fifth Circuit, and yet he comes out and says something entirely different later, that there's no evidence to support that. And basically what he's telling the Dallas News, there was no basis for a case there. And you're saying I have no basis for saying that? I got the Dallas News article. I've got the pleadings he filed. That's what I'm basing that on.
No, it's not inconsistent. His saying that there is a basis to keep these people, these organizations, as unindicted co-conspirators.
Have you looked at the documents that were made available in this case before you say that I'm being unfair by making allegations? Have you looked at the evidence in the case? Here's ISNA. Here's documentation of the money they provided, which ended up supporting terrorism as found by the court. And you're saying I have no basis for saying what I did? There is a basis for what he said before the Fifth Circuit and before the trial court. And so I don't appreciate the allegation that I am making unfounded allegations.
I'm just saying, responding to what you said. You essentially said that he would take a position in order to maintain a position. That's certainly what you implied.
I raised the issue. And sir, I don't know how many cases you've ever tried in court or prosecuted, but I can assure you, if you tried a case and you had someone with the impeachment material that was available for Mr. Jacks on his inconsistencies and you didn't pursue it, you would not be an effective trial lawyer. These are bases for impeachment of his stating that there was no politics involved because there was no case there.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Chairman,
what
the Attorney General was trying to explain why there was no inconsistency, and he kept getting cut off. Could the Attorney General respond to the question? I mean, serious
I was responding to the allegations about me having no basis for my statement.
Well, can the Attorney
and I
General
deserve to
respond?
have a chance.
Does the Attorney General have
respond
anything
to
to add?
I was simply saying that the notion that the filing of something that says that these organizations should be treated as unindicted co-conspirators is not inconsistent with this notion that there wasn't political pressure brought to bear on that decision. I don't see how one necessarily affects the other. And, I'm going to stick up for my people. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going to let people who work in the United States Department of Justice have their characters assailed without any basis. Now, that, might be something that people in this committee feel is easily done. It's not going to happen as long as I'm Attorney General of the United States. Okay. It's not going to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I should have a chance to respond since there were allegations made about me. But I do appreciate the Attorney General now letting us know that Mr. Jacks is one of his people. Thank you.
Okay.
As are the 114,000 other people who work in the United States
Thank
Department
you
of
both.
Justice. So
he is part of your department.
These are my people.
Thank you both.
114
The gentleman from
So people
Florida.
in your department did make that
gentleman's
decision not to
time-
prosecute.
We all know that our country's journey toward equality is not finished yet. We know it right here in this room. It's been 5 years since Lawrence versus Texas and 39 years since Stonewall, but still, we've got work to do before we achieve equality in the LGBT community. He's also spoken out against the stigma surrounding HIV testing, which is still plaguing so many of our communities, which you all know, a lot of that is due to homophobia. Barack has led by example. When we took our trip to Africa and visited his home country in Kenya, we took a public HIV test.